All right, today we are diving deep into a really fascinating concept. It's something that kind of sits right at the crossroads of ancient mysticism, sacred geometry, and modern metaphysics. It's called the Merkaba. And get this, it's described as a vehicle for your consciousness.
So let me just ask you this. What if your consciousness, your actual awareness, had a vehicle? I'm not talking about a car, of course. I mean a field of pure light that could, in theory, travel beyond space and time. That's the wild idea we're going to unpack today. So here's how we're going to tackle this. First up, what even is the Merkaba? Then we'll trace its history, its journey through time. We'll look at why people call it the engine of consciousness, and then we'll get into the specifics, the 17-breath ignition key to turn it on. And finally, we'll wrap up by asking, is this a genuinely ancient symbol or more of a modern tool?
Okay, let's jump right in. What is the Merkaba? We're talking about the blueprint of your light body.
Okay, so at its very core, the Merkaba isn't just some static symbol you draw on paper. It's described as a living, three-dimensional energy field. Picture this, two pyramids, or tetrahedrons to be exact, interlocking around your body. One points up, one points down. And here's the kicker. They're spinning in opposite directions. This counter-rotating field of light, well, that's what they call the vehicle of light for spiritual ascension.
You know, the name itself gives us some really cool clues. It actually has two different but sort of related origins. So in Hebrew, you have Mer-Ka-Ba, which literally means chariot or throne. It kind of paints this picture of an external vehicle, right? Something that takes your soul to the divine. But then, if you look at the supposed Egyptian roots, you can break it down into Mer-Ka-Ba. Mer for light, Ka for spirit, and Ba for body. That frames it completely differently, not as an external chariot, but as an internal system, where light unites your spirit and your body. Pretty cool, huh?
So let's talk about the geometry. The basic shape is called a star tetrahedron. The easiest way to picture it? Just imagine a three-dimensional Star of David. It's made of two interlocking pyramids with three sides each.
And each of these two pyramids has its own special meaning. The one pointing up, that's the sun tetrahedron. Think masculine, solar, electric energy. Then you've got the one pointing down, the earth tetrahedron. That's all about feminine, earthly, magnetic energy. But here's the thing. The power isn't in one or the other. It's in how they come together. They represent this perfect balance of polarities, you know? The ultimate harmony.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because the shape itself, the star tetrahedron, that's just the frame of the vehicle, you could say. The engine gets turned on when these two fields start spinning in opposite directions. When that happens, they supposedly create this incredibly powerful and stable energy field that can transcend space and time.
So, we're moving on to its journey through time. And you might be thinking, this sounds like a pretty modern, new age kind of thing, right? Well, not exactly. The idea of a spiritual vehicle has a really deep and, honestly, pretty debated history that goes way, way back.
So if we look at the timeline, you can really see how this idea evolved. Some people believe it goes all the way back to 3000 BCE with Egyptian priests, who might have used a similar concept for protection on their interdimensional journeys. Then you jump forward to the 6th century BCE, and you get the prophet Ezekiel's famous vision of a divine chariot, the Merkaba. That vision actually kicked off a whole branch of Jewish mysticism. Then we fast forward quite a bit, all the way to the 1970s. This is when a teacher named Drunvalo Melchizedek pulls all these ancient concepts together and introduces the 17-breath meditation that's so well known today.
All right, Section 3, the engine of consciousness. We've got the shape, we've got the history, but so what? Why does any of this matter for us right now? Well, this is where it gets personal. Proponents say that activating your Merkaba isn't just a private little exercise. It's a tool for major personal and even planetary transformation. So, what are these supposed benefits? Well, the list is pretty long. We're talking about creating a protective energy shield, balancing your emotions to help with things like anxiety and stress, clearing and aligning your chakras, and really expanding your consciousness and cranking up your intuition. It's also said to unlock a deeper connection to your higher self. The ultimate goal? To empower you to become an active co-creator of your own life.
There's an analogy for this that I think just hits the nail on the head. Imagine your body is like a biological smartphone. Super powerful, right? But most of us are walking around with it stuck in airplane mode. The Merkaba, in this analogy, is the Wi-Fi antenna.
Activating it is like finally turning off airplane mode and connecting to this vast universal network of consciousness.
And that connection, that Wi-Fi, isn't just for you. There's a much bigger picture here. The idea is that when you activate your Merkaba, you're plugging yourself into a planetary Christ consciousness grid. You literally become a node on this network, helping to stabilize and uplift the collective energy of all of humanity. It's a pretty big idea.
Okay, so how do you actually turn on this Wi-Fi antenna? That brings us to our next section, the 17-breath ignition key. This is basically the user manual for your light body. So, the way to activate it is through a very specific 17-breath meditation. It's this whole sequence that brings together your breath, visualization, hand positions called mudras, and your intention. But, and this is a huge but, every source on this says the single most important ingredient is unconditional love. Without that feeling, it's just a mechanical breathing exercise. Love is the fuel for this vehicle.
And this meditation isn't just random breathing. It's broken down into 4 clear phases. You start by balancing your polarities. Then you establish a flow of prana, or life force energy. Phase 3 is all about shifting that energy to your heart. And only then, in the final phase, do you activate the rotation of the fields.
Let's break that down just a little bit more. So, the first 6 breaths are all about cleansing your internal electrical circuits. The next 7 breaths are where you start spherical breathing. You're basically building a sphere of pure life energy around your body. Breath number 14, that's the big one. That's when you move the center of that energy sphere up from your navel into your heart. And then for the final 3 breaths, you give the mental command for the 2 tetrahedrons to start spinning in opposite directions, faster and faster.
Okay, so we've gone through the what and the how. But you know what? It's really important to step back and put on our critical thinking hats for a second. So let's do a little reality check.
And that brings us to a really important question. Is the modern Merkaba that people teach today, is it a genuine ancient truth that's been rediscovered, or is it more of a modern spiritual invention that's pieced together from older ideas?
Well, here's the thing. Critics and scholars will tell you that the super-specific geometry and that 17-breath meditation, you don't really find them laid out like that in ancient texts. The argument is that it's more of a syncretic archetype. That's a fancy way of saying it's a new spiritual technology that was built by combining little pieces from older traditions. And of course, we have to be clear here. While many people who practice this report having incredibly profound experiences, there's absolutely no peer-reviewed scientific validation for any of it.
But I want to leave you with this one final thought, which I think really sums up the whole philosophy behind the Mer-Ka-Ba today. The chariot is not coming to save us. The chariot is us. You know, whether it's a literal ancient technology or a powerful modern psychological tool, the message is pretty clear, isn't it? It's all about empowerment. The idea is that the vehicle for change, for your own growth, it's not somewhere out there. It's right here, within you.
I feel the spirit and the body wrapped in light, spinning through the fabric of the night. I'm rewriting history. Mer-Ka-Ba, the mind is the shaper, the heart is the flame. I'm changing the world when I speak the name. Ascending in the energy, but the geometry was cold, just a machine of spinning air, until I found the secret that was hidden in there. It doesn't run on intellect, it doesn't run on might. It only starts to spin when the heart is shining bright. Love is the fuel